all the elements, we try to be anti-urgency. Like, unless something absolutely has to be done by a particular date, like we're not worried if we miss like soft deadlines. And it's about making sure that we're all working at a pace that makes sense and that it's flexible and all of those sorts of things. However, it is very hard to indoctrinate people into this way of thinking when they're only with us for like a few hours a week, and when they're doing other work with other people who are very deadline focused. And they so it's really, really tough to be like, hey, this is a way of life and this is the way we work and this is XYZ. But in their head, they're like, but there are deadlines and there are responsibilities, and you're going to blame me if this isn't done at this time. And I'm like, we're really not.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Earth, Sea, Love podcast. This podcast is for and about women of colour and our relationship with nature. Hosted by me, Sheree Mack. The Earth, Sea, Love podcast is committed to exploring the experiences of women of colour with Mother Nature. We want to provide spaces where the hidden voices in the environmental and conservation conversations can explore their relationship with the natural world. Inspired by our time spent outdoors, we amplify the voices of women of colour, our stories, our conversations, interviews, photography, writing, and artwork. We'll be exploring our legacies, histories, and memories which have had an influence and effect upon how we perceive ourselves within the natural world and within the environmental and climate justice movements. The Earth, Sea, Love podcast is a space for women, feminine, and non-binary people who are Black, Indigenous, people of colour to explore their relationship with nature. Thank you. Hello. Welcome back to the Earth, Sea, Love podcast. And it is I, your host, Dr. Sheree Mack, and once again, we are bringing you an amazing episode for the podcast. And today's guest and conversation is taking place with Soraya Abdel-Hadi. Soraya is the founder and managing director of All the Elements. She's also a freelance coach. This was a catch-up conversation as Soraya has been part of the podcast before. This is an episode where we leaned heavily into the slowing down to notice nature emerge at its own sweet time. And again, this is wisdom and guidance that we as human beings can take from nature. And how there is that. If only we could normalize or mainstream that anti-urgency, that anti-rush, anti-speed practice that is happening at All the Elements, and which I know I mirror within my own life. All the Elements is there encouraging people to rest, slow down, offering them permission, And also, the other part of all the elements is that it is a community. It has grown and it brings people together and it supports people as they make change to bring equity, diversity, and inclusion to the great outdoors. So, yeah, this is a lovely conversation where we touch on all the elements development. We talk about us finally meeting face to face in the flesh over a number of different events. And then also there is an expression of grief and loss, as Soraya lost her mum this year in January, and how she is coming to terms with that and how things are changing and how her mum is still so much with her within this emerging nature, and how, lessons that we have learned again and again is that life is fragile, life is fleeting. So even more important to be following what we are passionate about, to retain our integrity and to explore and lean into those things that bring us joy and pleasure. And that is nature, but then there's also creativity. We were put on this earth to create and express ourselves, and if we're not doing that, we are doing a disservice to ourselves and to the world, because they'll be missing out on our wonderful creations. And so this is the Earth Sea Love podcast, sharing with you another wonderful creation. Sit back or walk, even get out there and listen to this episode. And thanks for being here. Until next time, bye for now. From Soraya, back to the Earth Sea Love podcast. It's so good to see you so soon after just seeing you,
I
but
know.
I'm complaining. But let's get ourselves situated and remind our listeners where you're zooming in from, please. And can you see nature where you are at? This might be a different place than where you were before. Maybe.
Yeah, it is. So I was thinking about this before I came on the call. And last time we did this, I was in my office in my house and I could see a lot of rooftops. I remember that. This time I am at my parents' house. And I am in my adult sister's room, which is a whole other story. And I can see their garden. And I've worked here a lot recently, and I have never been somewhere where you can literally see nature emerging, like almost minute by minute. And I think it's life-changing, actually. It's been one of those things where I've suddenly gone, oh wow, if everyone could do this,
Yeah.
how different everything would be.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So there are magnolias in this garden.
Oh.
And you can sorry, I've had a bit of a cold. You can see them
Mm.
almost like inch by inch opening through the day,
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
it is really beautiful. So yes, I can see nature, and also there is a peace lily in front of me inside as well, so that is also nature. And I can see you, and you are also nature.
Thank you. Also, I love that. What you were saying about the magnolia flowers opening, and you can see that, because that must mean you are slowing down and you're watching it, or you're attentive to it. And
Mm-hmm.
to say, yeah, everyone should be able to do that. I'm totally, totally, totally with you on that. Yesterday, I found this YouTube, and it was Black Girls in the Wood or something like that, who's an American woman who bought some land and's living off grid. She's 38, I think, and And she's maybe doing it for a couple of years now, but how she's just self-sufficient, she's growing her own stuff, and how her whole life has changed by just simply, we say simply, but making that decision to choose, like, there is another way, and I'm
Mm.
not happy with what I am doing here in the grind, in hustling, and in the city, and let me see if there's another way. And she took that leap. She didn't know what was on the other side or it was all unknown, but she had that trust or that innate belief that is like, yeah, there is another way. And that just reminded me that there is another way, of many other ways of living and being in this world. um so thank you for that reminder. Lovely, lovely, thank you. So we situated you. So let's jump in, because we know each other through all the elements. So
Mm.
all the elements. Last time we talked might have been in its infancy, but now, like, I don't want to pass judgment or whatever, but could it be in its teenagers, mid, young adulthood here, moving and shaking in the world? How would you like to, share how all the elements has developed?
I mean, I love that. Maybe it is in its adolescence. Yeah, I think the last time we spoke was 2021, and All the Elements was founded in 2020. And so I imagine in
Yeah, man.
2021 it was a very different energy and space. I almost remember talking about it like I almost didn't believe it was a real thing. You know, when you're like, this is a thing, I think. That sort of energy. It is definitely a thing now. It is established, I would say. It's still learning a lot. I mean, I talk about it like it's its own energy and entity because it is, because it's a community and it grows and it changes and what it needs changes, and what we feed it changes. And so it's evolving all the time. But I think most people who are interacting with the community would say that they feel solidly part of it. I hope. I hope that anyway, that they feel like they know what we are and what we do, that we're here to bring people together, that we're here to support people creating change. And we have more secure funding now, which is nice. So we have a part-time team. Um, yeah, very different place to when we talked last time, I think.
Mm. And do you think through this development you've learned something about yourself, your your way of being within this sort of like space or within this community? Um,
Mm.
yeah, how do you think that you've grown or expanded, or even not, 'cause that's making assumptions.
Yeah, I guess prior to doing All the Elements, I was an operations manager and I prided myself on being very good at it. Like I was very good at detail. I was very good at being on things, getting things done very efficiently. I guess my energy now is yes, we'll get things done when they need to get done,
Mm.
but I'm much more chilled out about life in general. Um, the people are the most important. I mean, I always knew that, but it's just felt so much more of a centering on the people. I've learned how much I really hate admin. I really hate admin. And I'm actually not very good at it. I realized how hard I was having to work to
Mm.
stay on top of the details of everything all the time. Luckily, we have other people in the team who are much better at admin than me. And the community is even more important to me than I thought it was before. I think maybe I thought maybe I'd sort of bought into capitalism a little bit. Maybe I was like, what the work is important. I mean, that's work in a different sense to the work that we understand,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
like the grind is important, the
Ah,
achievement is important, the
yeah,
money is important. And
yeah.
now I'm like, the community is important. The systems change is
Mm,
really important. The space and valuing of creativity within this area of work is really important.
mm,
I feel much more settled into myself. I think I know who I am more.
mm. Oh, that's all beautiful and juicy. I love that. I love that. And today I've got this inset training in a school, and they've titled it Unconscious Bias. And this
Mm,
is the second one that I'm doing. And the first one, we brought in white fragility, white
mm,
culture, white privilege. And then the last question was about, well, what about class? Where does this sit into it? And shouldn't this be in unconscious bias? And I did the reaction saying like, well, I said from the beginning I was focusing on race, right? Okay,
mm,
that's it.
yeah,
That's it. Yeah. But I went away because it was niggling me. It was
mm,
niggling me. And what I found out is, I says unconscious bias, they said unconscious bias, but I would see it as anti-racism training. But
mhm,
what is lacking in anti-racism training is that critique and analysis of class and capitalism and
yeah,
how it does feed into everything. And what you just said there about, yeah, we all have fed into and believed in capitalism, whether we wanted to or not, right? We knew and we do have to, in a sense, as a means of getting a life or getting some money to live, right? Okay. But what you just said there about community being so much more important, and how I am doing this thinking in real time, and I'm going to be sharing it with them today if they appreciate it or not. But how I'm all about coalition now,
yeah,
and how there is, instead of thinking of intersectional identities, because we have, what about intersectional issues and concerns that where we can actually come together, where we've got that commonality, the commons, where
yeah,
can we come together and work together, even if we're disparate or diverse or look as if on paper we're coming from these different angles, but we're actually in it all together to make that system change. It's like
yeah,
I had this light bulb moment. It's like, yeah, that's why it's been niggling you. Because, we've got allyship and like, oh, somebody has to give up something so that other one could feel better or inclusive. But there's still the hero and the victim playing out there, isn't it?
yeah,
And there is still that belief that there's superiority and inferiority. But like, yeah, anti-racism comes from that idea is like white, black, and like white's the norm, and let's just try and shake it up a bit, check your privilege, diverse your feed. But what really is that doing? But that
mm,
is the basis. You got that basis there of that community and how it can center you, it can ground you, and it can, shift priorities and yeah, start looking in a different way. So I'm good, so glad, so glad. And I feel so lucky because so we met for the first time in the flesh last summer at the Timber Festival. That is what I got from that experience of being in the all the elements space or under the tent with you is the case of like that sense of community. And
mhm,
I spent all my time at Timber in the Auckland community. And that isn't a complaint. It's because I felt safe, I felt welcome, I felt seen, and
yeah.
I so appreciated that. So from my point of view, it was win-win. Awesome. So what about Timber for you and all the elements? How was that experience for you?
Okay, well, before I get into timber, the first thing I have to say is they are very lucky to have you doing training.
You wouldn't
Let's
think so, babes. You wouldn't think so. Thank you kindly. I'm making them far too uncomfortable for themselves.
Well, then they don't know how lucky they are because they are very lucky. The second thing is I've just started reading this book called Rehearsals for Living. Have you heard of it?
No.
No. So it's like it's letters during COVID between these two activists, Canadian activists, and they are one of them is a Black activist and one of them is a First Nations activist, and a lot of their conversations are about how can we all come together to create this large scale change? Like now we have this time to step back and like process. How can we support each other with like our shared challenges and really like amplify each other's voices? It is one of the most beautiful things I've ever read. And so I would recommend it.
Thank you.
Um, so that's that. Timber. Oh my God, Timber.
Yeah.
Timber. So Timber was an amazing opportunity for us to bring our community together in a way we hadn't done before, in a way that was very like celebratory, that was very much like, hey, we're not bringing people together to talk about diversity, and well, we are, but we're also not. And we're not just bringing people together to learn about, how you can do your accounts, because that's also something that we do. But what we're doing is we're letting everyone bring their own skill sets and their own passions and like just let them shine in a space where everyone can kind of like connect to people on like, oh my God, like there's this amazing like creativity space over here, or there's this amazing conversation happening over here. And how do we talk about these things in a way that is accessible to a wider audience, but also doesn't pigeonhole people into having to talk about diversity all the time. And our community, I mean, Sheree, you were there, like shone through that. Like that's what makes everyone amazing. That's why I do the work I do, is because everyone's just epic and I just want to spend more time with them and I want to do all their activities and speak to them about everything all the time. And I'm like, and I don't get to do that because I have to spend so much time in my emails. I'm working on that. But I love it. And the energy was amazing, and pretty much all our sessions were over capacity, and we had such amazing feedback. And we had people join us from the general timber who said to us, I found my people. And that's like, even thinking now, that makes me so emotional. Like, actually, I'm in this space and I've realized like I've been looking for something and these are my people. And I didn't know where to find them. And that's kind of like, look, I'm gonna cry. But that's what all the elements is for. So we don't feel like, going back to what you're saying about these like coalitions and people working together. And it's about finding people who get it and who are doing their own work in their own way, and you can appreciate them for that work, their own work in their own way, and they can see you and appreciate you and your work and what you're doing in your own way, and the fact that we all want the same thing,
Yeah.
which is equity
Yeah.
and a happy, healthy environment,
Yeah.
and fulfillment in a way that maybe society doesn't recognize,
Yeah.
and joy.
Yeah. Yeah. You just took that word out of my mouth there because that was coming. It's like, yeah. Um, Yeah, I mean, because it was significant on all those levels for me. It was an opportunity, I mean, like, I got to do my visual journaling and share it, but it was an opportunity to meet so many people who I'd seen online or in an email, but to see them in the flesh, that was like took it to a new level. And there is something you know, I know, maybe I'm just old school, but there is something about being in real life with each other. Yeah. And so if we think like this last weekend we were at Talk, the outdoor connection experience. Yeah, outdoor citizen. Um, and I saw similar people there,
Mm,
but I had a different vibe from
mm,
um and it's not a criticism, it's just a different vibe. And maybe, I mean, because I went to both things and I didn't know what to expect, but maybe I got Talk wrong. Maybe I expect something different from Talk. So, I mean, I saw similar people there as well and more. I mean, I made some really new contacts that hopefully are going to be coming on the podcast. So that was good for me. But there was a different vibe from that. And I have to work out what that was for me because, and I think I've already worked it out. It's a case of like, I'm coalition, right? I'm saying about coalition, like comrades together. Yeah, in solidarity. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I have to work on my trust and belief, put my judgment to the one side that everyone who's in this coalition together, who's my comrade in solidarity, is actually doing their part as well. You know,
Mhm.
it's actually showing up at the same level or the same way. I am. I do have high expectations. I know I have got high expectations, and I'm trying to check them. But I have to trust that when you're saying you're doing it or you want to do it, that you actually are going to do it. And
Yeah.
that is what I struggle with. So because like Timber's not happening this year.
Timber's not happening ever again.
I know. It's like,
But
what?
we're gonna do something different. We're already well, after Timber we had a conversation which might lead to something very exciting that has a similar vibe to our area at Timber. But yeah, it's a tough time for festivals. It's a
Yeah.
tough time for festivals.
Yeah, man. So let's just talk about talk because I did mention it. How was the experience for you? I mean, it's the third year. This was the first time it was on my radar. Or if I'd seen it on my radar, I'd missed it. It's like, what was that? When did that happen? So yeah, how was talk for you? Because from my stance, it looked like it was a lot of organization, a lot of moving parts that had to be in places. So you always seemed to be on the go coordinating. Yeah,
Mm. So it's interesting that you say that it was very different. It is very different. And
mm,
actually, so many of the things that we do are a slight shift in terms of what they are offering and the energy that they're bringing.
mhm,
So I thought Tok felt more community focused than ever this year.
mhm,
And I think that's because now we have some people who've come before.
mhm,
And so it's like they come and they see people that they know and they can catch up and find out what people have been working on. We all know none of us have that much time. So
mhm,
it's really helpful to have that space to be able to check in with people and see what's going on and what's happening. We plan it so half the people are new people and half the people are people who've been before to try and avoid like it ending up really cliquey with like five new people who then are like, why does everyone know each other and where am I? Very practical compared to Timber. So that's what I was saying. So this is much more of a training and capacity building event. It's a bit more I don't want to say business focused because that's not what I mean, but
mhm,
like more professional skills focused. Come get what you need, like get what you need from each other, get what you need from the sessions, go away, like create change. What we have said is if you came to the event and actually what you needed is just to sit on your own for the whole weekend because you needed space, we're happy for you to do that. If you want to come and take part in everything, we're also happy for you to do that. As you know, we did a like you can opt in, opt out, you can get up and leave if you want to. Like that's the energy we want from it is like we're all adults here, we can decide what the best thing is for us to do with our time here. And so Timber is as was many words a celebration of the community, a real like bonding over sharing what you're really good at. Talk is like okay, I've got some things that I need to sort out. How do I do that? And who are the people who I can speak to who are part of the community who can help me like overcome these challenges that
mhm.
I've got going on right now, or I can share my knowledge with them. Does that make sense? Does that help with the framing?
Yeah, yeah, totally helps with the framing. And I think for me, I mean, yeah, didn't have any expectations on any of them. I mean, I am many different people and characters, but I think the true line is that I'm not sure if I've got those strict divisions between like creativity is my life and creativity is me. and I might get a living from it, but then also get my joy from it and celebration from it. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong, because I'm not rolling in it, you know what I'm saying? But I think it's because I bring my whole self to whatever it is. I don't have a professional head on, as I just wrote this morning. I don't have like I love Wurzel Gummidge, you know what I mean? And he used to have so many different heads that he puts on, and maybe I do put them on, but maybe it's just a seamless thing. And that's what I was trying to do, to work out this morning. Because like when I'm doing something, I also seems to do a running commentary, but out loud with anyone else. So like I'm not I'm showing the process
Yeah.
while doing it, and that's how I work or be. So yeah, so I think that's what it is, and thank you because that's been clarified. It's I said I don't do professional perfection or performance. That was it.
Mm.
It's a case of like all the time I'm in that space of vulnerability, and maybe it's because that's how I want to connect with people in that space.
I
Yeah.
guess though that I don't see that there is. I also, well, I mean, you know me. I also don't really have like I mean, I cried multiple times over the Outdoor Connection weekend. I also don't really have that separation between professional and vulnerable, if
Mm.
that makes sense. And that's been a change for me. And I actually spoke to somebody over the weekend about it because what I've realized now that I have become my own boss is that I was masking a lot when I was working for other people because I was presenting what I thought should be like someone working within this type of role. And I don't really do that anymore. Like I'm very much like I show up as myself and how I am. So I guess when I say that talk is more about like targeted at that type of energy, it's not like I really hope that people would not come with like holding part of themselves back. It's more just around like the framing of like what you're going to get out of it, right? Because you're not going to go to Timber and get accounting advice or like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
but I guess that's an interesting point though, because how much I know for some people the community allows them to feel safe enough to bring those vulnerabilities forward, but maybe there's more also that we can do to encourage that in different ways because it feels it feels important.
And I think it was there as well because you did have that option of checking out when you wanted to, or doing what you need to do for yourself. And I know that some people actually mentioned that even though that permission was outside of them, they still had difficulty giving that permission to themselves.
I have this, it's an interesting thing because I've had this conversation a lot over the last 5 years with all the elements we try to be anti-urgency. Like, unless something absolutely has to be done by a particular date, like we're not worried if we miss like soft deadlines and it's about making sure that we're all working at a pace that makes sense and that it's flexible and all of those sorts of things. However, it is very hard to indoctrinate people into this way of thinking when they're only with us for like a few hours a week and when they're doing other work with other people who are very deadline focused. And so it's really, really tough to be like, hey, this is a way of life and this is the way we work and this is XYZ. But in their head, they're like, but there are deadlines and there are responsibilities and you're going to blame me if this isn't done at this time. And I'm like, we're really not, because it's probably my fault because I haven't got to it because I'm not. But it's that shift is huge
Yeah.
and tricky. And it's kind of how do we encourage people over that line when the rest of society and the rest of life is telling you that you can't be like that in that space. And so I think that also applies to the stepping out, right? You can tell people to step out all you like, but if they've never been given that permission before and they're holding all of those previous experiences for themselves, the only thing we can do is try and normalize it. I don't think there's any other way of encouraging people to step into that space for themselves.
And practicing it and being making sure that you're sharing that you're doing this or being seen that you're practicing it and also repetition.
Yeah.
Because that this is a similar thing that came up with the Black Nature in Residence gig and being the project coordinator between the creatives and the our part contacts, and the creatives just spent a lot of time trying to get their head around that they weren't being told what to do or have strict guidelines, stipulations, numbers, strict outcomes, outputs, and all that jazz. And so we can just do what we want or be what we want. And we're going, yeah. And we're getting paid for it. Yeah. Because that was the most important thing, to be with nature. If you're given that time and space to just, dream, play, whatever, things happen. The
Mm.
things happen, but it happens from much more, I don't know, real or place where it's more on their own terms, and they get that chance to explore what's been itching them. So yeah, so totally, it's about normalizing it. Or what something else was saying just today is like mainstreaming it, mainstreaming it. This is
Yeah,
on the edges, man. Should be centered. Everyone should be doing it. But we talked about the connection, nature connection, and we just talked. You told me about your magnolias in the garden, but this isn't your house.
it's
Um,
not.
so what? How are you getting your nature connection at this moment, Soraya? What? How? I must check in and make sure that you are getting your nature connection.
Yeah, and I haven't been. I think that's the honest answer. It's interesting. Oh, I might cry. So, as you know, my mom passed away at the end of January, and I had spent a very long time either working or caring, and those were my like two things. There is a very beautiful garden here though, so that's good. Like it's very easy to step out. Like that's a privilege to be able to step out into a garden that is like very close to you. Um, and I've been neglecting that nature connection. I just haven't had the energy or the space or the time. And that feels like excuses because it fills me up so much. But also there was just a lot to process. And I think when you're processing a lot, there's not a lot of space for anything else. I have just got a house that needs completely renovating with a very, very beautiful garden, and it is not a uh curated garden. Like this is not a garden that has garden beds. This is a garden that someone has left for years and years and years. And I'm waiting on planning at the moment, but I go and check it. And I went to go and check it the other day, and the entire back garden was full of hundreds of daffodils, hundreds of them. I've never seen so many daffodils in my entire life. I was like, oh my God, did I accidentally buy a daffodil farm?
What
Um,
gets me, because they spring up all the time and they come from bulbs, right?
yeah, yeah,
But like, I don't see anyone planting them.
no, no,
You get here.
yeah. And there's so many, and now they're going over, and it's bluebells. Yeah, it's amazing because to the left of it, I was so fortunate. I mean, I fell in love with it, and the house itself is like a wreck. And it needs like everything doing to it. It currently doesn't even have radiators. It's like it's doesn't have a kitchen. It needs everything doing. But the garden sold me on it, and the location sold me on it. And next to it, and behind it is like a little bit of woodland, and so the bluebells are coming through from the woodland. And also, nature is a very deep connection to my mum. Like it was very important to her. This garden is like her creation. And I talked to her about what I might do with this new space and what it might look like and all of those things. And so I guess, and I'm planning on documenting this as well because sorry, I'm getting a bit rambly, but basically I have my current Substack, which is more of a like, hi, this is who I am. This is kind of my thoughts on like activism or change making, and here are some interesting things I've read. type energy. And what I really want is a space where I can be like, look at this amazing artist I just came across. I don't even know why I like them, but I love it. And this is how this relates to what's going on in my life right now. And this is how this relates to this new space. And so that feels like the next evolution in my nature connection journey is like learning about this new space, which is like mine to live in and occupy. How that really relates to my creative practice, which I've like deeply, deeply neglected recently, and what that means for legacy, I guess, because that's the thing. I think when people die, you think, actually, like, how do I make sure that my mum's essence is not lost in this world, right? And that becomes something which I don't know, for me, like preoccupies me. It's like a thing of like no one's going to know her physically now. Like, but what are the most important things that people know about her? And so there's also like this, so there's a lot going on. Yeah. It's just that reconnection to like I see her like in everything, like the magnolias blooming, like the I remember her saying to me just before she passed away, like spring's coming soon. Like everything is about this the seasons and the changes and nature and how wonderful it is. So it's so closely interconnected with that and with my mum. Like I can't separate them.
Yeah, yeah. Mm. So when you were talking there, yeah, you were tearing up,
Mm,
but I also noticed a shift in your energy and a quickening
mm,
of and how you got excited about, the nature connection, but then also how the creativity, your Substack and what you want it to be about. There was joy there and excitement and yeah, follow the joy because um you can't have the joy without that pain as well. And keeping keeping your mum alive is in who you be and what you do. And it's interesting that you said that you see your mum in the magnolias or in the garden and the phrases that you remember that she said just before passing. And even spring's coming soon. That for me, that's a case of your mum still living on, and in within the seasons, but then also it's a beautiful terrible world. It's a beautiful terrible thing that that we go through when we lose a mum. Just yesterday I was saying, oh yeah, I see my mum every day. I just look in the mirror and it's like a look or a turn of an eye or something. It's like, oh, there's my mum. It's like within me. But yeah, the stories that you will share about your mum just today, you brought her alive. You brought her alive today.
I mean, I think that the important, like, nature connection, as I say, to me is so intertwined with her. But I mean, partly because she was just always so also amazed by nature, right? So the same thing, like, very early, well, I think it was, I can't remember, but it was when it was wintry and it was frosty. And I came into the room and she said to me, "It is so beautiful outside today. Can you, like, by this point, she couldn't like take herself outside to take photos. She was like, go outside and take photos." And I was like, "Oh, I've got this to do." And that she was like, 5 minutes, go outside, take photos. It's so beautiful. Like, go outside. And I did, and it was beautiful and wonderful. And I took the photos and I came back and said, I did it. Like I've done that. But it's that reminder, isn't it? It's like it only takes 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like the world will keep turning. Nothing bad is going to happen because you haven't immediately done that thing that is like forefront of your mind. You
Mm-hmm.
can take 5 minutes.
And you said about all the elements, it's not about urgency and it's soft deadlines.
Mm.
So how come, or do you apply that to you? And
So this is a really interesting dynamic, which I've noticed, and I notice it with like the community and the individuals that I work with as well, is that we're working with leaders in this space, right? So these are leaders who are serving their communities and, usually working with some amazing volunteers and team members as well. The challenge is that you try to implement this for everyone and everyone gets it and they want it for themselves. But there's also a tendency to be like, oh yes, I understand that. I hear you. Yes, that feels really great. Yes, we do need time off. But also, have you seen that email I sent you yesterday?
yeah.
But have you checked that thing? It takes a lot of work to identify what's actually urgent. Like for me, a community need is urgent because actually, to be honest, the community only asks for things if they actually really need it. Like
Mhm.
they're like, I really need a call. I'm like, okay, I'll drop everything for that because I know if you're asking, it's because you have something that's come up urgently for you and that you need to deal with that. The sector
Mhm.
are a little bit trickier because they are obviously working within hard deadline environments and they do come back and say, "Oh, I know you're not working, but could you get me this by this date?" So I try to apply it to myself. I feel like have put myself in a position where I am an ambassador for a lot of different people. And if I wasn't an ambassador and representing a lot of different people and getting things for other people, that I would be stronger at it, which I am in my freelance, because when I'm freelancing, it's just about me and my energy. But to be honest, if I'm very honest and open about this, is like when people ask me, what would you do if you could do anything? Right, that's the thing, isn't it? I would still do all the elements work because I still would want to be engaged with the community and help and support the community. But I would create, I would spend so much more time in nature and creating. Like that's what I'd actually do if I didn't have to pay bills. And, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, I totally get you. I mean, something was happening in my visual journaling this morning because I was just tipping on it. It's like, oh my gosh, it's the 1st of May. Oh, it's like yeah, I'm tired, but I'm liking that energy. It's slow and steady. Oof, if I could spend my summer with this energy, because I did have my hibernation over in winter. It's like, so I'm just like really coming back. Yeah. But I'm thinking, oh, if I could spend the rest of the year just at a slow pace. And then it comes up, isn't it? It's like, well, what you got on the cards for work, Sheree? How you getting the money in? How you paying the bills? And I just thought, I don't want to really think about that because that ruins my energy, man. It's ruined like, and
Kills the vibe.
isn't it? And I was
Mm.
thinking, all right, you've got, you're making plans, you've got maybe some fires in the iron in the fire to be able to, and I know it's a privilege, but it's also for me, I find it has to be a necessity. Make sure I'm looking after myself creatively, soulfully, body and nature connection, more so than doing anything else for anybody else first. And that includes my kids, right?
Mm.
So, like, I'm saying, like, hey, if I'm taking time away so I can do me and then come back for my kids, if you're a stranger or you're part of my community and you're out there, get in line behind my kids, in that sense. But it just means that when I am showing up for my kids and the community, I am so much more like present. I don't resent being there. I'm all in. You've got me. You've got my whole attention. Let's do this. Yeah. And I just feel it's such a much better flow of energy, more positive vibes than if I'm coming here and I haven't meditated, I haven't done my visual journaling, I haven't been out, I haven't connected with nature. It's like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to be here,
Yeah.
and that is I'm noticing. And that is what I want. I want more of is that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm being. Um
I think the being is really important because I think that's the thing for me is I don't feel like me if I don't have space to create.
Hmm.
I don't feel like me. I'm not being, I'm just doing my way through life.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. So, what's happening with your creativity then? You've mentioned Substack. This is what it is at the moment. This is what I want to do. But yeah, are you making the time and space to do it or be it?
I mean, of course not. But I have set up, I have already done the process of setting up the separate Substack. So that is there, personal online journal. I capture artists and things that inspire me all the time. So I am doing that for myself, and that also like fills my cup. So yeah, exactly. I'm like, when you look at something and you're like, oh my God, that is I don't know why, but that's just doing something to me emotionally. And I have to like make sure that I put that somewhere so that I remember how amazing that was. Like that's been game changing for me. Next week, I have to pack up my other house. That sounds ridiculous, but the house that I live in, because obviously I'm in my parents' house at the moment. And that feels like a clearing process. And it's going to also be very emotional and very difficult. And I'm hoping that once that's done, that will open up this door because I feel like for me, when I have task on task on task on task on task of like things that I know that I need to get done, it squishes my creativity. I can't fully give to it until I know that those things have shifted. So yes, so that's the plan. And I already have so many things that I want to share and talk about. And so I'm excited to get rolling. And I'm also carrying my sketchbook with me everywhere.
Yay!
Yeah, which
Yeah,
is big.
it is. It
Mm,
well is.
yeah.
You've laying the foundations there.
Mhm. I know, but I feel like I mean, I'm a coach for creatives. So see this all the time. Yeah, so creatives and change makers and activists. And so I see this all the time with other people. It's like one of those things, isn't it? It's like, I mean, they always say as a coach, you should have a coach. It's like if you're a therapist, you should have a therapist. Like it's you just because you're able to help and support other people doesn't mean that you're like getting it right 100% of the time. So I know that this is a common thing for us as creatives. I know that that happens. I'm putting in all the foundations and those building blocks for myself to come back. Like the mum illness, caring, dying situation threw me into like this whirlwind of life and immediacy and grief and admin. I was talking to a friend the other day, and he unfortunately has also lost people recently, and he calls it sadmin. I was like, yeah, there's so much sadmin to deal with. Um, and it's not an excuse, it's an understanding of life's patterns, right? It doesn't mean, and I think previously I would have been like, oh, I'm not an artist anymore. I'm not a creative anymore. But I'm like, no, that's not true. It's just the ebbs and flows of when it's
Yeah,
possible to create in particular ways. Like I'm still writing.
yeah, yeah. It's like what season in your creativity are you at the moment? And it shifts and change. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's good. That is positive. That is healthy. That
Mm,
is that's keeping it real, man. Keeping it
yeah.
real.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there's like some like elements of that process that have really helped me in different ways. That like actually this isn't important. What is important? It's like conversations that I had with my mum before where she was like, moving forward, what does that look like for you? What is opening up for you? Like where the essence of things. It's I cry. But she was someone who I can say like really saw me. And I think it's really important to have those people around you. Like you said, like people who see you. Like she could see me. She would be like, when I make decisions, she'd be like, oh, I don't think that's going to stick. Do you know what I mean? Like, or being like, oh, you're doubting that right now, but this is this is obviously the right direction, or like you are passionate about this. Like she said to me previously, so I'm not in a relationship right now and I don't have kids. And she would say to me, like, she was like, kids is something I always wanted. Like it was always part of my mum's plan. But she was like, I'm not worried about you not having kids because you have purpose. Like, what is going on for you. You have that drive, you have passions. Like, you're going to be okay. So, yeah, I don't know. There's just so much in there that this whole experience has taught me about how fragile life is, how important it is to follow the things that you're passionate about. But, also there is the admin. And you do have to do the admin to be able to do the other stuff. We still live in society.
And just what you were saying there, and we say about mum and mother and death and the grief and the passing. And I'm not sure if it wasn't until a couple of years later, because you're saying, the person that really saw you. I didn't realize till a couple of years later that I was no longer a daughter.
Mm.
And Ella's just said it recently. She goes, I forget that I'm your daughter. It's a case of like, I know you're my mum, but being in that role of your daughter, I don't really think about it. Or I'm going, well, you are my daughter. It's true. I was there. And it's funny that for me personally, I wasn't thinking of being a daughter and what that meant and how that reflected onto my mum. It was like my mum, she's my mother, she's mothering me. But that role as a daughter, and it's like, and it was a sad realization. It's like, well, yeah, I'm not a daughter anymore,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. So much of our place in the world is like how like our relation to other people
Mm, mm,
and those relationships and what they mean and how we're connected and how other people perceive us as well as like how we perceive ourselves.
mm,
And there's something so powerful about that, but also, yeah, like sometimes devastating
mm,
when that changes or shifts or yeah. But it's funny because I talk about, like I mentioned legacy earlier,
mm,
and like one of my things is always around, my like great nieces or whatever they will be, like are gonna be like, oh yeah, 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 like my great aunt, I don't know, did she do something to do with like plants? Do you remember? Do you know what I mean? They'll be like, was she I feel like she took photos. It's like, and I'm like, well, I kind of did, but not really. So it's like that idea for us, like we're so obsessed with how we're seen and like what people say we are and who we are. And even really, really, really famous people go, oh, is that the writer? Oh, it's not. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Do you know what I mean? So
it's
none of it really matters. Like
no.
none of it matters. Only our experience in the moment matters because
Yeah, but and that isn't it mainstreaming it, normalizing it. That's what we need to do. Those relationships. Yeah, I mean, I love my solitude. I do, but I also have to enjoy my relationships
mm,
by any
hmm
means necessary. We will enjoy this relationship together.
a little bit like that. It reminds me of the Shonda Rhimes TED Talk that she did. Have you seen it?
Have.
Yeah. Where she talks about like playing with her kids and she's like, and it is like, I think she said it's like it's so boring, but also you're boring. And so they're done within 5 minutes. So it's kind of fine. So like promising to play with your kids every time they ask is actually not as like intrusive as you think it's going to be because yeah, it's just a moment. It's a moment in time. Um, and investing in those relationships in just a little tiny sense is a big shift for both sides of that, right? But it's never as it doesn't have to be as onerous as you think it's going to be.
Exactly. Exactly.
Or if it is, it's only very briefly.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then, yeah, moved on, moved on. So, coming to an end here. For some reason, I just want to ask, have you got any holidays booked, babes?
Oh,
And I don't
no.
go even away. I just mean time off, time away from work. Yeah, holidays and however you want to experience that or
So next week was my holiday week, and I'm now packing up my house. But I feel like that's important, as I say, for my like mental well-being is to get that sorted and sorted out. So that is some holiday time. I will be taking some actual holiday, but I'm gonna take it when I get my new puppy because I'm gonna have to like it's gonna be a new puppy. It's gonna need me to be there. Yeah.
oh
And then once I've got the puppy and the puppy's settled and like socialized and all of those sorts of things, I have lots of plans for this dog. It depends because you never know because every dog has different personality traits and all of those sorts of things. But the plan is to go on some like me and the dog adventures.
oh nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. That's good. You've got plans. You've
I have
got plans. That is investing.
plans.
Investing in you and investing in your life.
Hmm.
And yeah, and it's living. So yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. All right. Well, I would just like to say thank you. Thank you for your time, your presence, your grace, your wisdom. Oh, I can feel your legacy now. I can.
It's going to be a very messy garden. That's going to be my legacy.
Yeah. It was working with somebody, We Wild, something like here, We Wild, it's in Somerset. And they're going like, why do people get upset when nature's messy?
Yeah.
And I says, oh yeah, because they want everything neat and tidy, but also maybe because like it's a reflection of themselves. We are messy people, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
And like so it's just us reflecting each other, as you said, we're connected, we are nature. So we're
Yeah.
messy. And that's
We
not
are.
about man. It's true, it's real. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank
It's
you.
always such a pleasure.
It is such a pleasure.